Hey guys, we're going to do a video here on graphing inequalities and just kind of review, or hopefully this is review, how to do it. So we're going to go through two problems and be sure you pause the video when you need to and write these things down. So our first example, example one, we're going to go over a problem that says graph the solution. And we're given x is less than 3. So the directions are to graph the solution. We want to graph x is less than 3. We want to show other people what that means. So first off, a big idea here is that we're going to do it on a number line. Number line is going to be the easiest way to show our solution. So I'm going to set up a number line. I'm going to use my ruler, make it straight, neat, organized. Messy, wavy number lines are hard to read and hard for others to understand. So you want to, if you need to, pause the video, but you want to make it nice. You want it neat. Use your graph paper to make your lines. And always be sure you get 0 somewhere in the middle. And I'm going to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, just to spread out my numbers. Then once you have a number line, our focus is on 3. X is less than 3. So I'm going to circle 3. That's kind of my anchor point that I'm focused on. X is supposed to be less than that. So if my values are supposed to be less than 3, then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to test both sides of the number line. I'm going to run a quick test to see which side is going to be accurate. So imagine, I'll draw an arrow under the number 5. Imagine I decide I'm going to test 5. Well, is 5 less than 3? That's basically what you have to ask yourself. You're testing it. Usually we do it in our head eventually, but is 5 less than 3? No, it's not. 5 is greater than 3. So then test a point on the other side, like -1, for instance. Is -1 less than 3? Yes, it is. -1 is less than 3. So the left side passes, which means we're going to shade the left side. We're going to darken it with our pencil and draw a big arrow on the end because x is all the less than values, all the values that tested positive on the left side there. And we still have one more thing we need to do, though. We need to test the point that we circled. We need to test 3. If we put 3 into our inequality, is 3 less than 3? Well, no, 3 is not less than 3. It's equal to 3. And because of that, we're going to leave it as an empty circle. We're going to leave the circle empty on the number line so that the person reading my number line knows that it's only the values less than, not equal to 3. And that's it. That's the graph of my solution. I'm going to write from my notes here that we put an empty hole over the number 3. Now, a lot of this you can kind of do in your head, like testing points and deciding which side of the number line to shade. But if you're trying to organize your work and you're trying to show others like what you're doing, this is an easy way just to show how you're testing the left and right side to see which one will pass. So it's kind of an easy way to show your work. So let's try it with another example. Let's do an example 2 here. Same directions, we're going to graph the solution. This time we're going to do m just to change the variable, and I chose m is greater than or equal to -2.5. So m is greater than or equal to -2.5. So it's kind of the same steps. We start with a number line. So it's going to be my first point in the process here is just get the number line set up. Use your ruler, draw a nice number line, put 0 in the middle. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again, and -1 to -5. You can make your number line as big as you need to, though, if the numbers get bigger. And then I'm going to focus this time on -2.5. You should pay very close attention to where I circled. 2.5 is going to be between 2 and 3 on the negative side. So I'm focused on that point right there where I just circled. That's -2.5. And so now to figure out where I'm going to shade, I'm either going to shade it to the left or I'm going to shade it to the right. I'm going to test some points. So I'm going to pick 2 completely random points, just made up points. Doesn't matter to me which ones. I'm going to test 2. Seems like an easy number. I'm going to think about 2, is it greater than or equal to -2.5? Is 2 greater than -2.5? Yes, it is. It's definitely greater. So that one passes. So that's good. So we already know, hey, shade to the right. That's the side that passed. Shade it with our pencil, make a big arrow kind of going off to the right side, meaning m is all the numbers that we just shaded. M could be 3, m could be 4, m could be 25, m could be 100, m could be 1,000,000. Any numbers to the right, any greater than numbers m could be, as long as they're greater than -2.5. The left side, if I tested it, negative 4 is not greater than negative 2.5. That's the one that fails. I'm going to exit out. That side can't be shaded. It fails the test. And so I'm pretty much done. The only thing I have left is I need to test the actual point that I circled. So negative 2.5 needs to be tested. And negative 2.5, the question is it greater than or equal to negative 2.5? And this time the answer is yes, it is equal to it, and there is an equal sign in our inequality. So instead of the empty hole like in the last example, I'm going to shade that hole in and darken it up so it's a solid point on the line. So kind of a big difference there. Empty hole versus a solid shaded point. The empty means there's no equal sign. The solid means there is an equal sign. So you kind of have to pay attention to that. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to try some problems. Same directions. Graph each inequality on a number line. And I'm going to encourage you to pause the video right now and copy these 3 problems. Pause the video and copy them. Draw your number lines. And then when you're ready, unpause the video and see if you got them right. So go ahead and pause now. Okay, so hopefully you're unpausing the video, and hopefully you've already answered these 3 questions and drawn your number lines. Let's see if you did it correctly. So the first one is x is less than negative 1. So negative 1 is our focus point. It's going to have an empty hole on negative 1, and it's all going to be shaded to the left-hand side. And that's the answer to the first one. The second one, z is greater than or equal to positive 4. 4 is going to be circled. This time it's going to be a solid point, not an empty hole because of the equal sign. And you're going to shade to the right-hand side. And for the last one, notice what I did on the last one. Do you see how the variables switch to the other side? See how the t is actually on the right instead of the left? Doesn't mean I can't solve this problem. It's still the same setup, but you just got to pay attention to that. So it's t is greater than negative 1/2. Or when you read it, you could say negative 1/2 is less than t. And so negative 1/2 is going to be circled, and t is the larger values. I'm going to shade to the right with an empty hole. And that'll make up my third answer there. So hopefully this is kind of helpful information. The big idea here really is when you're graphing an inequality, you're testing points. You're shading on the left or you're shading on the right, and you're choosing if it's an empty hole or a solid hole. And the neater and more organized your number lines are, the better off you're going to be at showing your work and proving that you understand something to somebody else. So please focus on neatness when you're making these number lines. All right, guys, I hope that helps. Thanks.